Alright, welcome back for another ranked multiplayer match. This is going to be a replay cast. We're playing as Khorne, and we are matched up against the High Elves. So we've got a Chaos Lord of Khorne as our general. We've got 4 squads of Chaos Warriors, 2 squads of Halberds, and that's actually the main force. And we've also got another squad of Chaos Warriors and Halberds over on the flank going towards point 3. Now, as soon as this match started, I kind of started having flashbacks to my match against, I think it was Ogre Kingdoms versus Lizardmen, where my opponent started with these kind of just behemoths of units. And so you'll see he's got Imrik on a dragon, he's got 2 moon dragons, dragon princes, and 2 squads of archers with light armor. So put things onto normal speed. Now, as soon as I saw this, I was like, what should I be doing with my infantry? Because his dragons are going to absolutely destroy my Chaos Warriors and probably not going to take much for it. The Halberdiers, or the Halberds, can probably fight for themselves, but, you know, outside of that, I was not really sure what to expect. I figured the archers weren't going to do too much, and this is part of the reason I went for so many Chaos Warriors in my build. Was I figured, okay, a lot of the High Elves archers don't have armor piercing missiles, so maybe, you know, just the armor alone, even on the halberds, will be enough. Breath attacks are going to hurt. Luckily for me, this one missed on this halberd squad. I keep saying halberdier, but same difference. And that one wasn't as much contact either. So Dragon Prince is coming up around the side. I brought 2 squads of Chaos Warriors of Khorne back just to avoid confrontation and hopefully allow me to bring in some reinforcements to help against all these large targets. So right away you see Minotaurs with great weapons coming in. My Lord is getting targeted heavily. Dragon Prince is charging into Chaos Warriors. Isn't great, but not horrible. And then we sent the rest of the guys towards the middle and off to the side point. And I figured, you know, one squad over here with shields is going to screen off the archers. The halberds will sit further back on the point. Unfortunately, he's got Sisters of Avalorn who are going to just put in work on the armored troops. But you can see my Lord is getting beat pretty bad. Dragon Prince is back out because they took a little bit of damage against the Chaos Warriors. Kind of hard to see what's going on here, but again, triple dragon jumping on top of a squad of Chaos Warriors, and the Lord is not great. So the Minotaurs are really helping out there, and you can actually see they're doing pretty good damage on all 3 of these targets. So right now I'm saving up points, trying to figure out what I need to bring on the field next. Unfortunately, my Lord just got worked. You see him just getting absolutely sent by this dragon, knocked on his ass. And at this point, I think my opponent realized that he was taking a lot of damage from these Minotaurs with great weapons. So he is off to the skies with some of his dragons. Imrik is still beating around the Lord, but these Minotaurs are really giving the business to the Dragon Princes. And again, the dragons have retreated up to the skies. Breath attack going down, which is hitting both the Minotaurs and the Chaos Warriors. So that hurts pretty bad. Spearmen locked up against Chaos Warriors of Khorne is not great, especially when there's Sisters of Avalorn getting flanking shots. You see the standard archers are shooting at the halberds in the back. And so now we're sending these guys downhill, and they're coming off the screen. These guys are coming over here to pressure the Sisters of Avalorn and basically force him to send something back here. Halberds are going to sit because he's going to need speed, which is usually going to be in the form of cavalry to get back here. And same thing, keeping these guys back. You know, you see I'm shifting them so that they're still on the point. You can see this line, they're still on the point, just providing capture weight now that the spearmen are arriving, but avoiding the archers best I can with them. So Minotaurs, oh actually I forgot I brought out Skull Crushers here once they redove, and the Skull Crushers are actually doing a lot of damage to this Moon Dragon. These guys are very expensive, heavily armored, which actually does not help that much, if at all, against the Moon Dragon. But these guys have some pretty nasty damage output. And you see the 71 weapon strength, anti-large armor piercing. So because the dragon was landed, I brought these guys out. And looks like the Minotaurs got chased off. But this squad of Chaos Warriors is luckily providing a target for them to keep them on the ground. And they're not lifting off and going elsewhere yet. Because honestly, they don't really have too many other good targets. Now, this is where we bring on the Skullcannon. And this is a unit that I've been playing a good amount as Khorne. I guess if you want to call it my main, that's been Khorne. This is a unit that I haven't really been able to figure out, like, when is this thing ever good? It seems like it shoots really inconsistently as I make 2 shots in a row there, but this guy's not juking really. And yeah, it's just such a weird unit, but I figured I'd try them out in this matchup in case there were large targets like Dragon Princes or Dragons or Phoenix. And so far it's doing all right. You can see just off of a few shots it's accrued 200 value. Gonna be rolling forward, trying to get closer and you know, get just a little bit more accurate shots from being close. Get a flanking shot on Imrik. We got a squad of Chaos Warriors coming over here, pressuring point 1 to make him spread his troops out a little bit more. The Chaos Warriors that were coming after the Sisters of Avalorn got intercepted by these Fireborn Dragon Princes, and that's going to be a decent trade for me. These guys are actually, I guess these guys are supposed to be anti-large, and they don't have much armor-piercing value. Let's take a quick look at that. Yeah, not much armor-piercing, so they're not really doing great against the Chaos Warriors. So Skull Cannon now firing over at the Sisters of Avalorn, mostly because I have Skull Crushers chasing down Imrik, and I didn't want to be hitting them in the back with those shots. See, the Chaos Warriors are going to get over here. He's still got the Sisters of Avalorn just shooting in, and unfortunately they are going to do very well against the Skull Crushers, even with these guys having shields. Sisters of Avalorn just do so much damage against high-value targets. So Halberd's sitting on the point, just keeping the capture weight, and at this point I was kind of thinking, all right, what am I going to do to deal with his shooting? I hadn't realized at the time that he was starting to run low on ammunition on all his archers, but that was basically leading me to believe, okay, well, maybe I should just keep setting on these heavily armored troops. Most of his archers are not shooting armor-piercing rounds. The Sisters of Avalorn are really the only ones doing that. So maybe if I just keep getting capture weight type units out on the field and letting my Minotaurs, Skull Cannon, and Skull Crushers deal with the large targets in the form of the dragons, I might be okay. Because the Halberds really don't have much to contest them. The Spearmen are going to lose to them. The Dragons are going to lose to them. The Dragon Princes are going to lose to them. And the only real threat to them is breath attacks from the Dragons, as you're going to see here. Pretty decent damage there. And Sisters of Avalorn, which he's only got 1 on the field that I can see. So Skull Cannon is now out of ammunition, is going to come in and do some disruption. You see it got a couple shots off and did a little bit of damage to the Sisters of Avalorn, but didn't really do that much. It looks like it took out 11 models. And, yeah, they're still pretty healthy. Unfortunately, this squad of Chaos Warriors are getting chased off by the Moon Dragon. He's got Terror, so he's using that to its effect. These Chaos Warriors are still holding strong. The Dragon is going to change that pretty quickly with his armor-piercing value. Yeah, 380 damage. That's just armor-piercing. So that's pretty crazy. So I brought another Skull Cannon because Imrik is flying around, and I was like, well, if I bring on Minotaurs, I'm only going to be able to fight him where he lands. So if I keep the Skull Cannon rolling around and just trying to get near him, you see my movement command to get on top of the ramp, then maybe I can kind of force him either to dive on the ground and try to obstruct the shots, or get whatever value he can out of himself while he's still on the field. And, you know, whatever else, excuse me, had a little burp coming there. This Moon Dragon's coming over here, so it looks like he's going to try to get a breath attack. And as soon as I saw that, I'm going to rotate these guys. Might take a second, but yeah, you see I issued that command. And basically that was to give him less of that shooting down the pipe effect. And he still got pretty good damage, but if they were standing sideways, this area here would have done a lot more damage. So shadowing him with the Skull Crushers, they're going to get chased off eventually. They don't have great leadership, and this guy has Terror. But I want to make him uncomfortable by having one of these anti-large units following him around. Unfortunately, I've been fighting for so long without my Lord, and so leadership is not great. Now, I bring him back on here. I actually did not realize that timing was going to be so good, but he's coming back on. I wanted to get the leadership going because I'm starting to realize I'm having trouble dealing with the dragons, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to hold against them and maintain the points while he's still got archers and stuff on the field. Now, luckily, this is at the point where I'm starting to realize ammunition is maybe a little bit lower. The Skull Cannon driving into the Sisters of Avalorn is nice, but this guy is crumbling. I actually don't know why his leadership is so bad. I guess just because of his health, and he's kind of by himself, even with having our Lord back on the field. But you can see we're starting to lose the capture weight over here on point 2, so I don't think it's a triple cap situation. Yeah, he needs 1100 and I need 700, so Yeah, we're not in triple cap territory, so I really got to focus on points 2 and potentially 1 and see what I can do about that. These guys are going to sit on point 3. Right now I'm thinking, well, I got to keep myself honest here. I don't know if he's going to try to charge back there with Dragon Princes or something fast. And it was hard for me to keep track of everything going on because I was really trying to shadow these Dragon and Dragon Prince units all over the field. So I didn't have a good sense of what reinforcements he had, but I knew he had a somewhat small / elite roster because of the unit cards that both of us were showing. So Minotaurs with great weapons charge again. Unfortunately, taking a lot of damage on the initial charge. Someone from the breath attack, someone from the shot of the Sisters of Avalorn. But my Lord is back on the field, so he's got a buff that he's popping here, Fight or Die, which is going to give plus 24 melee attack to the Minotaurs. And so they're going to be putting an absolute work against these Dragon Princes. This is what gave them so much value in the beginning, where he charged me with all 3 of the dragons, including his Lord, and the Dragon Princes as well. Was I popped that, what was that ability I was just talking about, Fight or Die, and so these guys just had brutal melee attack stats, and they were just putting out a lot of damage. So another squad of Sisters of Avalorn. This is the Ever Queen's Court Guard, so this is the Regiments of Renown. And I guess they have a little bit more damage. I don't know how accuracy is checked and whatnot on this, but this is a Regiments of Renown version. So Fleshhounds over here. I was talking about, I was starting to get worried about the capture weight because I could tell I wasn't yet in triple cap territory. So I went over to point 1 to try to pressure him and force a response, which I got in the form of the Sisters of Avalorn and archers coming over here to shoot them. So immediately I was like, okay, it's going to be a bad exchange, and I'm not far enough ahead in the value trading that I can just sit and soak up shots on the point. So I'm pulling them back. They're going to help against the Dragon Princes and try to help my Lord out because I was a little bit worried about him getting beat down again, given how fast he went down earlier. Now, given that was to 3 dragons, and he didn't have that much support outside of the Minotaurs, but nevertheless, I was like, I can't bring him on and then have him just get chased off right away again. So looks like I missed it, but at some point I was able to kill Imrik. I can't remember if I had the Blood Crushers or Minotaurs on him and a Skull Cannon shooting at him, but got him off the field. And so now we've got a little bit of an advantage on the leadership part. Now he's got a double cap and he is gaining ground on me. So we've got to get downhill and take this point. So now you see I'm bringing on another squad of Chaos Warriors. Now part of the reason I brought these guys on was what I was talking about earlier, is I need capture weight, but he doesn't have that much that's going to do well against these guys now that the dragons are gone. The Dragon Princes are not going to trade well into them, even though if you cycle charge, they'll probably beat them out eventually. The standard archers do not have the damage output to puncture the armor, and the Sisters of Avalorn ideally want to be shooting someone that does not have silver shields. So these guys are kind of just an awkward unit for the High Elves to be facing, and at least in this part of the battle. And so that's why I'm bringing these guys on. And let's see what else comes out of the reinforcements. Now, as soon as I say that, you see another Moon Dragons coming on. But the good thing is that I've got my Lord. I got some Fleshhounds pressuring the archers. See, they're getting some decent damage off on the Sisters of Avalorn there. And I still have some Minotaurs left who just ate a big breath attack, and damn, down they go. I guess they crumbled immediately once they got hit by that and went off the field. But our Lord is going to sit here and try to soak this damage up. Luckily, he's not a good target for Sisters of Avalorn because he's a single foot model, so he's a small target for them. And we've got more Minotaurs coming to get on the Moon Dragon. Now, this is something that I've kind of noticed I've worked on a lot and changed about my play style. Is these guys were sitting on the Moon Dragon. He's fighting with my Lord. Now, with the Minotaurs coming, I could have just ran them in and then tried to like encircle him with all these troops. But instead, I'm force pathing the Chaos Warriors away from the dragon and towards the Sisters of Avalorn, so they cannot shoot the Minotaurs off the Moon Dragon. So just a little small change in my gameplay that is helping me out with this exchange here, and kind of forces the Moon Dragon to get out of there because he does not want to be sitting against these Minotaurs, who these guys are fresh onto the field. But again, 300 value is pretty quick, pretty good to get quickly against a unit like this. So we see Spearmen coming onto the field. We've got point 2 captured, And at this point, he's kind of run out of steam. You see, we're both down to 5 units, so we're both pretty well beat up. But unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to take control of the battlefield at this point. So he's bringing on moon dragons, but you know what I mean. As long as I sit my lord and protect him with the minotaurs, he's going to be fine. And they're not going to be able to kill all of these chaos warriors and get capture rate on here fast enough. He can bring spearmen, he can bring archers and whatnot, but the dragons aren't contributing at all to the capture rate situation. So with me and the minotaurs fighting them, the skull cannon coming on to apply pressure and just force them into awkward situations, my opponent conceded, and well played to him, because it was a fun matchup. We both had little awkward builds, especially coming in with a double skull cannon in my back pocket felt pretty goofy, but I feel like I made decent use of them. So let's take a look at the damage values. So our lord, let's see, 1300, so not much, especially given he was resummoned. But my opponent invested a lot to get him off the field, so bringing him back towards a reinforcement point instead of being stubborn and trying to run to the middle ended up working out well. Halberds did okay. Yeah, they actually did okay. Again, these guys were mostly just to hold ground and make it awkward for my opponent to pressure the points. Chaos Warriors were pretty good overall. Not crazy value, especially since some of them were resummoned. Probably 2 or 3 of them were resummoned at least. But they did decent. They soaked up some charges from heavy cavalry and ate a lot of ammunition from the archers, so that's what I wanted them to do. Skull Crushers, this is probably one of the first times I've actually made Skull Crushers work. Getting them on top of the dragons in my backfield really accrued a lot of value, and I think these guys did a ton of damage against Imrik. Other squad didn't get brought on. Minotaurs, crazy value on this squad. They were resummoned, I think, once or twice. But yeah, crazy damage on the Minotaurs. The main thing was that these guys were brought on and brought into engagements where the archers could not get free shots off on them, and that was why they were able to accrue value. If they had been fighting in the middle solely and not had Chaos Warriors and units like that pushing uphill against the archers, that could have been very different. Skull Cannon, 1000 value, so not bad. 682 on the other one, so yeah, they didn't do horrible. I'm not sure if they were worth it, but honestly, I felt like they put some pressure on the dragons, which is, you know, I felt needed during the match. And the Fletchhounds did all right. They helped out against the Dragon Princes and whatnot. They forced a move on the home point from my opponent, kind of put his archers a little bit out of where he maybe wanted them to be. Now, as far as my opponent's value, Imrik 2800, that's decent. I don't know how much it cost. Moon Dragons 2300 on both. I'm not sure how much they cost, and they were both resummoned at least once, so hard for me to get a sense on that. Dragon Princes 1900, Archers not so much value. Fireborn and the other Dragon Princes didn't get too much given how much they cost. Sisters of Avalorn actually did decent. I think they cost 1200, 11 or 1200. So they did decent. Spearmen weren't gonna do much anyways, and the Mage of Light didn't get brought on. So I wonder if my opponent forgot to get this guy on the field, because I would imagine this caster was supposed to be coming on and healing the dragon and the Lord. You know, these high value targets, or even the Dragon Princes. Any of those would be good healing targets. But yeah, either way, it was a fun match. Definitely some quirky builds. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.